Hi guys, I'm Andy from Cruisemaster. We've just been out on our 2021 rat run. Just before we left, we built up this BT-50 behind me, ready for the conditions up the Cape. So today I'm going to go over everything we fitted to the vehicle and how it went up the Cape. Up the front of the BT-50, we've got a steel TJM Bullbar. We've been using these for years on multiple vehicles, so we know it was going to be a tried and tested product. At the time, we would have liked to have put an off-road animal bar on, but theirs was still in development, so we couldn't get it. But the TJM bar held up to everything we could throw at it. Also at the front here, we've got a STEDI Pro Series light bar, just like fitted to my Land Cruiser 200. Incredible amounts of light, nice and lightweight, small form factor. It's a great product. Attached to the bar is another carbon winch. We selected those because of the lightweight nature of them. All of these dual cab utes typically suffer from high front axle masses when you modify them, which can often make them illegal. So we were very conscious about making sure we fitted lightweight components to this vehicle. Also fitted to the Bullbar is a GME aerial. We have it in the twin whip pack, so we've got different whips for different conditions. And inside with a GME XRS UHF for those communications on our trips. We'll just pop the bonnet now and I'll show you what's under there. Under the bonnet, we've got an air oil separator to handle the crankcase ventilation. We found both on this engine and the previous model D-Max engine that they do bypass quite a bit of oil. We got back from the trip and the filter was almost floating in there, so we got a lot of oil out. So I'm pleased we had that on to make sure that didn't all end up in the intake. We've also got a pre-filter here with the alarm inside the vehicle. On our trip we didn't encounter any bad fuel, so no sensors went off or anything, but it's always good backup to have that when you're in those conditions. We've got a MegaLife battery in here, lithium starter. That saves about 10 to 20 kilos on the factory battery, again trying to manage that front axle weight. Holding down the battery, we've got a custom clamp that we made at Cruisemaster, which also holds our fuse box and power management systems. I have a particular hate of having multiple cables hanging off one terminal of the battery, so we go to big lengths to make sure we have one main cable off and then a managed fuse system on there. It means we don't have lots of blade fuses hanging around under the bonnet, which can ultimately become unreliable. This thing handles everything in the vehicle, whether it is the spotlights, the inverter, the electrical system inside the vehicle for cigarette lighters and stuff like that, all comes off the one unit. So if we do ever have an issue with power, we know where we've got to go to find a blown fuse. Another reason that we run the MegaLife lithium starting batteries is because we're very sensitive on weight on a dual cab. We didn't want to have a second battery in this vehicle. So how the MegaLife battery works is it has a primary cell for most of the duties, starting the car, accessories and stuff like that. But if the battery does go flat, we can simply push a button, engage the reserve cell, and then we can start the car. So we get that redundancy of two batteries without the weight penalty. The BT-50 is fitted with a Pedders GVM suspension kit. So that's full strut replacement at the front, springs and shocks at the back. Now we've been using Pedders kits for a long time on lots of vehicles. We did find on the corrugation that it was a bit firm for what we were doing, even with the weight of the trailer on the back. We have had experience with this kit on another customer's vehicle and the customer was very happy about it. So we're working with Pedders to see if we can optimize the product for our use. As part of the GVM increase, you have to have rated wheels on the vehicle. As such, we fitted these R.A.T rims onto the BT-50 and they've got TOYO all-terrain tyres on them. We picked the TOYO tyres because there isn't a large range of this size tyre with a high enough load rating for the GVM and the application. We have used TOYO tyres before with no issues, so we're confident in taking those up to the Cape. Moving along the vehicle, we've got a TJM AirTech Snorkel. Selected this again, we've been using them for many years. In particular, I have a preference for a forward-facing head which is off the windscreen. Have had experiences in the past where if you're traveling in convoy, you get dust that comes up the windscreen and goes down the throat of the snorkel if it's got a wraparound head on it. So we didn't have that problem on this vehicle. We didn't cake up air filters all the time, so it worked really well. Towing mirrors. We have experience with both the MSA and the Clearview products. When we were building the 200, we put MSAs on that. And when we came round to speccing this vehicle, we saw that the new compact mirrors were out from Clearview and thought we'd give them a go. So they basically do the same thing. These have got a single optic in them, like the MSAs, and we found them to be much easier to use and reverse with than the traditional Clearviews with the 2 optics in them. The extension mechanism on these Clearview mirrors I don't think is as polished as the MSA product. However, out on the tracks and on the corrugations, we didn't have any problems with the mirrors whilst we were using them. For sill protection on the BT-50, we fitted a set of TJM side steps, just like we've put on a lot of our other vehicles. Nice thing about these is they came with a black tread plate already, so we didn't have to powder coat them. They did come in useful on the Frenchman's track, where we did have a knock on the other side as we were getting out of one of the river crossings. We did find though that the mount design at the front of the step allowed the whole thing to slide up a bit, which did result in us getting a bit of contact between the mount and the body. That was easily fixed by prying it down. We think we'll make a bit of a spacer up to put in there so that doesn't happen again. But ultimately they did their job, they protected the sill of the vehicle. Whilst we're talking about protection on the side of the cars, we've got a wrap here from Armour Doctor. Whilst obviously we put these on for branding on our vehicles, it's also good to protect the side of the car from those scratches and scrapes when you're on tight tracks, particularly up the Cape. Now let's head around the back of the BT-50 so we can talk about the tray. This BT-50 was originally a cab chassis variant, which means we had to come up with a tray solution to put on it ready for our Cape York trip. We had a pre-existing relationship with Chameleon, which meant when it came to selecting the tray, we went to them and we had some discussions with them to sort out a solution for our particular use. The most important thing for us, again, is managing weight. So we picked the shortest tray and we minimised the amount of accessories on it. The great thing about the Chameleon products is they are highly modular and they have lots of options available, such as trundle drawers under here for toolboxes, boxes on the side, water tanks and all that type of stuff. All depends on what your application is. For us, we made sure we had the lightest possible option. We did include the water tank, so we had a bit of water redundancy on the trip. Always got to be mindful of that in remote area conditions. But this packaged really well on the back of the vehicle. Not only does it look great, it's also really easy to install. One of the things which particularly attracted me to this tray is it's got a standard pattern of nut certs all the way through the tray. So they're big M12 hex nut certs, which allows you to just bolt stuff straight in. In the past, we've been strapping boxes and things down with ratchet straps, and particularly around corners of trays and stuff like that, they often get cut through on the corrugations and then you've got problems with stuff coming loose. However, this gives us the ability to bolt everything hard down into the tray. So these 2 boxes on the back from CAOS we used for storing various gear, tools and rags and recovery gear and stuff like that. So they're all bolted straight into the bed of the tray. The CAOS boxes have been really good. They seal the dust out really well on those dusty roads. Given what we do at Cruisemaster, one of the most important parts that we fit to our vehicles is a good quality tow bar. In this case, we've got a Hayman Reese X bar on the back of the BT-50. This one is a prototype high clearance bar for the cab chassis variants. You can see the amount of ground clearance you get out of it. It means you're not going to get hung up on it off-road. It's also got great protection under here for protecting the trailer plug and the Anderson plug when you're in those tough tracks. So we didn't have any issues with this on our trip. It is important to note though that they do generally come with red recovery points, but because we're Cruisemaster and we want our vehicles to look great with all our orange accents, we powder coated all of that. We also powder coated the accents in the tray as well, just to bring the whole look of the car together. And I think it came out looking pretty good. One of the great features about the X-Bar tow bars is these rated recovery points on them. A great addition on the back, so you don't have to use it through the hitch box like in some cases. It gives you dedicated tough points to recover from. And we did use those up the Cape when I got the 200 and the trailer bogged on the way up to the tip. They work really well, no issues with them. The last part of the modifications on the BT-50 are all inside, so let's head on in there and I'll show you what's going on. Under the rear seat, we made the most of the storage spaces that Mazda gave us. So we mounted the inverter under here. This is a REDARC 350 watt inverter, which we use to power a computer which connects to the Motec data logging in the trailer. That also runs through a power board so we can charge any other accessories up off that as well. Also under here is an ARB twin pump air compressor, obviously for inflating tyres. And on the side of the frame over there, we also mounted a line out for the air compressor, so it's really easy to get to when you need to inflate those tyres. Through the rest of the car, we've got Maxliner floor mats. I used them first in my Land Cruiser 200 and really like them. They're nice and easy to clean out the vehicle after a trip as they overlap the sill here, so you can easily sweep all the rubbish out of the vehicle. Also in here we've got SupaFit seat covers. We always pick the denim ones because they're far more comfortable than the canvas ones, and so far we've found them to be really durable out on the tracks as well. Up the front we've got some extra USB accessory points in the glove box so the team can charge their phones and stuff like that whilst we're on the trip. So overall, what are the impressions of the BT-50? We thought it towed the 2.8 tonne trailer pretty well. It did about 17 litres per 100 continuously. I do think putting a 3.5 tonne van behind this vehicle and towing it for extended periods would be a bit of a chore. It doesn't have a lot of power and torque to really overtake at high speed, and putting an even bigger trailer behind it will just make that worse. However, in our application, I think it worked quite well. We often get asked why we selected the BT-50 over the D-Max, as traditionally the D-Max is a more popular vehicle. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that we wanted a cab chassis variant, and there was two drastically different interior trim levels between the two vehicles. Because we're going to spend lots of hours behind the wheel in this vehicle, we opted for the one which was a bit more comfortable. So carpets, the trim on the dash was a bit nicer and stuff like that. We thought it was a better option to go with for a very small increase in cost. And what's left to do on the BT-50? Well, basically we're pretty much there. The only thing left to do is the underbody guards. So we trashed those on the Frenchman's track. So we're going to get in touch with our friends at CAOS and see if they've got something to sort out that situation. So next time we're hard off-road, we should not have any issues underneath the vehicle. If you've liked this review of our remote area testing BT-50, we've also done a video on our Cruisemaster Land Cruiser 200 and the wrap-up coming back from Cape York, as well as the Kmart patrol that we also took on our trip. So those are coming out shortly, so keep an eye out on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram to make sure you don't miss out.